This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say that's it, because it looks like everybody's probably used the link to get on. Don't throw me curveballs like that.
Tell me something with the tech first thing. Something consistent.
How camera. How speaker. You should be good to go. All right. Good morning, everybody. It is March 4th, Monday, March 4th, 2024 at 10:01 a.m. Thank you very much. Harney County Court is in session. If you'll please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we have a bit of a heavy schedule today since our last court session was canceled due to a power outage. We moved all those items over to today and plus what we had scheduled for today. So we do have, let me see, next item on the list is agenda approval. I don't have any changes or additions or deletions.
So as long as it's the printed agenda, you should have the changes. Is that correct?
No.
Yeah. I move to approve the agenda.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve today's agenda. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. Next topic is minutes approval. We have two sets of minutes from February 7th and February 22nd. The February 22nd one was a work session minutes, and February 7th was regular county court.
No, the February 22nd was our very short county court meeting.
Oh, was that our, okay, that was our, where we had the special session in order to do the ballot measure that we needed to get passed, was that?
Yes,
Okay. I stand corrected, so. Minutes approval,
I move to approve the Harney County Court meeting minutes for February 22nd, 2024.
Second.
motion been made and seconded to approve the Harney County Court minutes from February 22nd, 2024. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. And February 7th minutes,
I move to approve the Harney County Court meeting minutes of February 7th, 2024.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded to approve the February 7th, 2024 minutes. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. And that takes us to opportunity for public comment. I want to, before doing so, the county court adopted or established or whatever, some county court meeting protocol. They're taped to the wall out here and they've been there since before I took office. So this is existing protocol, existing policy. And I wanted to read that and then we'll open it up for anybody from the public. Harney County Court Meeting Protocol. Harney County strives to have open and informative meetings. We encourage and want to hear from the public when an item of importance is on the agenda. The process for hearing comments will be during the public comment portion of the agenda only. Comments will be allowed only for agenda items of the day. There will be a form provided to sign up for an agenda topic you wish to speak on. There will be no open dialogue allowed between constituents in the room. Commissioners may ask clarifying questions of the commentator at this time. Exceptions may be considered by the court. The Harney County Court always has important business to attend to during their court meetings. These protocols will be in place for all public meetings. All members of the public that attend the Harney County Court meetings shall be courteous and respectful as public comment is given. Public participation by all members of the public are welcome. Again, these were pre-established. It's not something new. They're taped up on the wall for everybody to review before coming into county court. And I'd like to continue with these unless there's anything that the county court would like to add or amend to this protocol.
No, I think it sounds good.
Okay. So with that then, just for the record, then I would open up to public comment. And I believe you're on the agenda, sir, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll get to you on the agenda. Sir.
Under correspondence, Richard called from SEAC, because you don't put SEAC on for me to report. So I'll put it under correspondence. I got a correspondence from SEAC saying that they're gonna have a public open hearing essentially for comments for all the month of April on polling or tolling. And it is an administrative, it's not for how to spend money. It's how to get registered, who's gonna get the discounts and those kinds of things. The judge, I'm sure, also got a copy of that. But I'm paranoid. And the comment that says Portland area and other statewide behavior projects, and I assume if we're gonna get anything done on Highway 20, we're gonna have to pay for it with tolling. Because that's gonna be another statewide project. So April 1st through the end of April is a comment period. I'm sure the judge can share with the other two members of the commissioners what the accepted topics are to comment. I plan to comment as a community representing the community of Harney. But I will probably do it later. They're gonna have a discussion on the 15th of April, perfect day, tax day, on the issues. So when you get that, you can see what all those kinds of things.
I would like to suggest that we get SEAC on the agenda, and I would like to hear the comments you're planning to provide, since you're in touch with people in the community on some of this. I'd like to.
So do we want to add a standing SEAC update item to the agenda?
You mean for today?
Well, but
Do
in
you want to
future-
notify them of when you want it on the agenda and when you do not, or do you want it as a standing item?
I will be glad to notify you, so
Okay,
that you don't have, unless you want to have it as a standing report.
just let us know.
Just
Let us know.
before April, since that's when it's open.
Yeah.
Everybody. So
And in the future, any other,
next meeting. Possible?
yep. Any other public comment? And hearing none, we'll move on. We have no old business scheduled, new business. First item on the list is Old Time Fiddlers from Larry Poskella.
Close
Sure.
enough.
Okay.
We're going to put on our 33rd annual Country Music Jamboree on the 13th through the 15th of June. In the past, donations have always covered everything except for last year. We ended up a little over $900 behind. So that's a concern to us, of course. We expect to have over 200 music lovers and musicians visiting town during that time. And I'd like to point out that this event is one of those that puts Harney County on the map. So I'll be brief.
So, I got that. Koskela, how you? Koskela?
Finish name.
Handed me a letter, handed us a letter, handed the court a letter. So this year High Desert Music Jamboree will be held on 13th and 14th of June, as he stated. Musicians and listeners come from all directions to attend. with most staying in local motels or camping at the fairgrounds for up to 5 nights. Locals and out-of-town visitors are able to enjoy this family-friendly event of acoustic music performances, jam sessions, and associated workshops. Attendance ranges from 200 to over 300 participants. For many years, the Jamboree has been self-sufficient, and all expenses were covered by the funds donated by the attendees. Due to rising costs, we are now asking for additional donations to keep this event functioning. 8% of the exceptions of the Jamboree stay within the local community, supporting our businesses. We always hire local caterers for this event. The Oregon Old Time Fiddlers District 9 are proud of the positive impact the Jamboree has had for our community, both economically and culturally. Please consider supporting the High Desert Music Jamboree with a donation. So is that your purpose here today, sir, as you're looking for donations?
Yes.
I would ask first, have you solicited the cities of Burns and Hines? The
Yes.
Chamber of Commerce and any other local businesses?
Yes. Heinz gave 500 and Burns gave 150.
Okay. It's been our practice over the last year because of budget concerns that we haven't donated to any outside events. But we can discuss it, whatever. the court
Is
wants
there
to-
any of the expenses related to the fairgrounds that we could help provide in kind?
Well, but that cuts into your fairgrounds budget.
And I don't
Thing
know
on the other side,
what they pay. I don't know what those expenses are anyway.
Where is it hosted? You have it at? Where's the
It's
event?
At the fairground,
At the fairground.
$700 is the fee from that.
So they're already giving them a pretty good deal with that for that many days, for the cost of the memorial building. But the transient lodging tax, and this is, the perfect example of why the county had tried to go after being able to implement a transient lodging tax. Because then you could actually, in these situations, have those funds available to help sponsor events like this. And we've been unable to successfully implement that on the county dollars so far. The voters don't quite understand
I can appreciate that.
the purpose of it, because it does capture those dollars that are passing through our community. And our two cities both have those taxes available to sponsor these type of events where the county does not. So, thank you for making us aware of it, and, we'll continue to spread the word too, that donations are.
Thank you for listening.
You bet. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Go back in and add that to the packet.
Mhm.
Okay, OWRD Domestic Well Remediation Fund. Alexandria Scott, are you on? Looks like you're on there.
Good morning, Judge Hart and County Commissioners. I'm Alexandria Scott. I work for the Oregon Water Resources Department. I'm sure you have seen me at some point or another in the community doing community engagement. I'm joined here this morning with my colleague, Lisa Kingsley, to discuss the Harney Domestic Well Remediation Fund. And with that, I will turn it over to Lisa, and she's going to present about the fund to you.
Good morning, and thank you. Let me get the presentation started. Just a moment. The Zoom won't let me share screen. Does someone from the court have the ability to allow me to share?
We're working on it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, give it a try now. There we go.
Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
So good morning. Thank you for asking me to join you today. Today I'm going to talk about the Harney Domestic Well Remediation Fund. We'll be sharing information about the fund several times in March and April, and during each presentation, we'll use this same slide deck tailored to time and audience. The greatest detail will be given during our March 6th information session, which will be available online shortly after that meeting. That will be an in-person meeting with a virtual option. And you have in your packet today information on that session and then also our informational handout. We will today be providing different, throughout the slideshow, through the presentation, we'll provide a few different drop-ins. So I would like to point out on this first slide is the Well Fund email address and the website, and I'll be referencing those throughout the presentation. I'm going to go quickly through some of the slides, recognizing that it's more tailored towards that informational session. If there's questions that you have on the slide or information that you're interested, please let me know. Today we'll talk a little bit about OWRD and grants, the Well Fund, the goal and funds available, processes, how to apply, a few application tips, and then what happens once someone is approved for the funding, and have a few minutes for questions. I do recognize that you have a lot on your agenda today, so I'll try and go quickly. So OWRD's mission includes directly addressing Oregon's water supply needs, and the Oregon legislature provided funding for and guidance to OWRD to develop the Harney Domestic Well Remediation Fund that we're presenting today. So to orient you a little bit as to who we are at OWRD, the section that manages grants is our Planning, Collaboration, and Investment section. And that includes community engagement staff, complex basin coordinators, technical assistants, and our grants team. Within the strategic investments work, we manage several funding opportunities. The top three are our most well-known and older funding opportunities that provide grants to organizations for water infrastructure and planning projects. But we've recently received funding and are adding to the portfolio with grants geared more towards individuals. And that includes our statewide well repair fund, abandonment repair and replacement fund, also known as WRF, the Harney Domestic Well Remediation Fund, and most recently, we're bringing in the Water Measurement Cost Share Program to the grants team. Another funding opportunity that's outside of grants but will be focused on Harney County will be a Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, commonly known as CREP. CREP will provide funding to landowners in exchange for removing environmentally sensitive land from agricultural production, and there will be more information available in the future about the Harney CREP program. Today we're here though to talk about Harney Domestic Well Remediation Fund. The goal is to help landowners with the cost to repair, replace, and abandon a dry or severely declining household well that's unable to sustain their household due to declining groundwater levels in the greater Harney Valley area of concern. So the map on the slide shows the greater Harney Valley area of concern in pink and within the pink boundary. And the brown areas are areas that will be prioritized for funding based on highest groundwater declines, and we'll discuss those a little bit later. OWRD has $500,000 total available, and we anticipate being able to assist with about 35 to 40 wells. The costs will include repair, replacement, and abandonment. Each of those have a different funding amount. Match is required for part of that, and the maximum grant will be $13,500. We do expect that there will be out-of-pocket costs for landowners who use this program for the 25% match required for repair and replacement, and then also $13,500 is likely not enough to complete their projects. So we'll talk a little bit about the process. Applications will be submitted, and we'll review the applications.
Up to $10,000.
but the maximum is 13.
Can you, oh, there you go.
That's if they choose to abandon a well and put a replacement well next to the well that was previously there. So
Yeah,
you can
so
have them abandon one well,
10,000, but they'll grant you 13,000.
right, that's because of the abandoned cost. So if you abandon the well and then dig a new well on the property, that gives you the up to 13,500.
correct.
Sounds like state numbers.
That, like I say, they're acknowledging 10,000 is not enough to
Yeah.
actually engage in a full well project, so the cost to the landowner would still be significant.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the process will include applications will be due on by May 31st, 2024. They'll be mailed to us. So that's the postmark date. Once we get the applications, we'll review and prioritize them. And then there will be a pre-inspection by an OWRD well inspector. After we've selected the projects that we will be funding, we'll award those funds and enter into a grant agreement or a contract for how we provide the funding. Applicants will do the work. They'll contract with a well driller and any other trades that are needed. They'll make sure that that work is all completed, that the well has been connected to their home, and then they'll let me know, and we'll have a post inspection completed and then do a reimbursement.
Is that gonna be does that look like that's gonna be a continuing annual process, and is it just gonna be one time a year application?
So we have $500,000 available to us, and we will offer the funds until we have used those. I expect it to be about 35 to 40 wells. So if during this first year we get 40 applications, we would likely not offer it again. If we get 20 applications, then we would offer it again in a year until all the funding has been used.
Okay. It's not anticipated for those funds to be replenishing then?
There is not that I know of, not at this time.
All right, thank you.
Certainly.
They were funded through a legislative bill, but not go on self-sponsor, and so that would be the only avenue to achieve further funding.
Okay.
Correct. So eligible costs include drilling a new well or deepening an existing well, abandoning the old well, well casings or liners, seal material, pumps, storage tanks, plumbing, electrical, and trenching. So the major work to replace or repair a well and then abandon the old well. Things that we generally don't cover that we sometimes see requests for through our statewide program are water testing and filtration, unlicensed work. So someone hires their neighbor to do trenching for them or to do electrical or plumbing for them that's not a licensed electrician or plumber. And then also costs for well houses or pump house construction. Those are sort of the main things we see. Like I said, we do recommend that people submit their applications by May 31st, 2024. That will be our deadline. I recommend that they apply early. We have a PDF online to fill out, and that's the easiest way to fill out the application. And it's designed so that, like, if they fill in their name once, they don't have to continue filling it out throughout the whole application. They'll submit an application package to us that will include estimates for the work and then any other documentation that they have for us. We have a guidance for homeowners document available, and we recommend that they read through this document and use the document to write their application. We've included examples in it for things that are common questions. Another thing that will be included, if they have it, as a copy of their existing well log. It tells us when the well was drilled and about the well. If individuals are looking for it and they don't have it, often it's with their home ownership paperwork, or it can be found online. So for this funding opportunity, landowners are eligible to apply. The domestic well must have served the household needs since at least April of 2016. And the funding opportunity was approved on September 25th, 2021. So we can allow work that's been completed since that day to be reimbursed. We have an online mapping tool to tell if you're within that Harney domestic well remediation funding location. The web link is at the bottom of this slide. They will go to the search bar, which looks like the eyeglass up in the upper corner, type in their address, and it will zoom them in to their address. So if the background looks pink or brown, they're in an eligible area. If it's white, it is not in the eligible area. Once we receive all the applications in early June, they'll be reviewed for completeness and preliminary eligibility. If something minor is missing, we will provide a short window for them to provide me that information. And we correspond by email. So we do recommend that they check their email address often. If someone doesn't have an email address, that's okay too. We will give them a call or send them a letter. So on the left of the slide, or on this slide, are the factors that we use to prioritize applications. So that will include if a well does not sustain a household or is dry or severely declining, or a well that is at risk of becoming dry or severely declining. Low to moderate income households, the landowner household will be prioritized if it's owner occupied and if it's within those brown prioritized areas. So prioritization is really based on if the well is dry or potentially at risk of becoming dry. Landowner income is prioritized for low to moderate income households. Household size and income level is here on a slide. The guidance for homeowners document that I showed earlier includes all of this information as well. If it's an owner occupied property, it will be prioritized for funding, but rental properties are also eligible, but the landowner is the person who needs to apply. Funding is prioritized for properties in the brown areas. These areas have been shown through the groundwater study to be the highest levels of groundwater decline, and that's why we chose to prioritize in those areas. So we'll have 12 prioritization levels, and we will fund all of priority level 1 applications, and then we'll go to priority level 2. So and that will be, again, based on the 35 to 40 wells that we have funding for, will be how many, like, we'll just fund until we run out of money. So I apologize for the smaller size font on this slide and the next two, recognizing that these could be used later on for someone to reference. I wanted to include all the text, but I do recognize that it's small. This information is also in the guidance for homeowners. So the first 4 priority levels will be for dry or severely declining wells that currently don't provide enough water for the household. Slides 5 or priority level 5 through 8, and then 9 through 12 are for at-risk wells. Before we award funds, we will do a preliminary inspection. This pre-award inspection will be done by an OWRD well inspector. They'll have access to the application materials. They'll look at any well logs that are available, conduct an on-site inspection, and prepare a draft report for me. We'll review all of that information by our grant team, and then we'll develop grant agreements with the applicants who are successful. That grant agreement is our formal contract, and it details the funding amount, how long they have to complete the work, what work is approved, the budget, and any match requirements. The applicant or the grantee now will have their work completed. They'll drill the new well or deepen the existing well, install a pump, connect water to the home, and have the old well abandoned. And then we'll complete a final inspection and make sure that the well meets the current construction standards, and review the well log and do an on-site inspection. Provide reimbursement to the grantee, so that's when they get their funds. So just a reminder on application packets, the complete application should be submitted all at one time. It should include estimates, a well report if available, a dry well report is filed online, if they have any documentation about why they're at risk, and then proof of the homeowner's income if they would like that income, low to moderate income eligibility for the prioritization. And the application lock-in date is when the complete application package has been received. So we do want to remind people to send your complete packet. It doesn't help to send it in piece by piece. And those will be postmarked by May 31st, 2024. Because of security risk, they include social security numbers and personally identifying information. So they do need to be mailed to us. They won't be accepted electronically or drop off at a local office or a county office. So we're accepting them with a postmark through May 31st. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I do.
Go ahead, please.
Yes. So for the applicant, if they need some technical support or questions answered, would they turn to the state office, or would they, in some cases, turn into the local water master?
So the local water master will have a copy of the hard copy of applications available. I would recommend that they reach out to me directly, and that's through the email that's available on the screen here. We also do have that presentation, the information session that will be Wednesday evening, and Alexandria will be in Harney County. She will be in the meeting room available. I will be joining her virtually. We will have a well inspector and some Harney County or Harney area staff, the water master staff available. So that's a great opportunity to drop in and ask questions if they have them. We'll give a similar presentation as I gave today, but diving in a little bit deeper, and then also available to sign up to ask questions, and I'll call people individually. So we really want to make sure that that your constituents have access to staff that can help. And so if they have any questions, please reach out.
Yeah, that's good. Are the funds, the $500,000, does all of that money go to applicants, or some of it to defray administrative costs of the agency?
No, all of those funds will go directly to applicants. I am the well fund coordinator for the agency, and my salary is funded through through other funds. Alexandria also will be assisting, and her funds are also secured. Our well inspector is their funds are covered, so we won't be taking any of those funds for administrative costs. Those are all directed to landowners for their wells.
That's great. And I know my questions are probably well covered in the documents, but so what is the timeline if someone submits an application that is complete by the deadline, and then of course you all have to review them and prioritize them, etc. And then you give them the green light that you've been accepted for this and the following amount is what we're planning to award you. And then they go get the work done. I mean, is there a deadline by which they must complete the work that they're applying for?
So we generally, once we enter into a grant agreement, we give at least a year for an applicant to get their work done. We recognize that there's a limited number of well drillers in the community available to do work. Sometimes there's weather delays, or an applicant might not have all of their funding in line up front when they submit their application. And we really want to make sure that this work gets done for them. There's a need there, and we want to make sure we're being helpful. And sometimes that means it's going to take a little bit for them to get their work done. If we get close to the end of the year and the work hasn't been done, we'll have a conversation about potentially extending. So we want to be flexible, but also recognizing the work needs done.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Shelley?
No, I'm planning on attending the deal on the 6th, and I think a lot of what will come down to is individual questions, you know, depending on each situation that a landowner will have. There will be unique questions that will come from each one.
And I have been working for Water Resources for about a year, and am the coordinator also for the statewide program. And so I'm hoping bringing that experience to the Harney Well Fund will help be able to alleviate some of those questions and answer for your constituents.
Great. We appreciate your assistance to Harney County.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Anything further for the Harney Domestic Well Remediation Fund topic? All right, well, hearing nothing, we shall move on then to a resolution, Resolution 2024-05, Public Health Rural Health Fund 245. So the Rural Health Clinic, Public Health Rural Health Clinic Fund 245 received some additional unexpected funding. So in order to receipt those funds in and be able to expend them, we have to complete this resolution that increases the revenue for the fund to $1,992,072, and then correspondingly increase the materials and supplies category to $419,050. And it's resolution 2024-05 in the matter of appropriating funds due to unexpended occurrence or condition in regard to Public Health Rural Health Fund 245. Any discussion? Questions?
Just trying to find it back in there.
So it looks like this was funding that was not anticipated during the preparation of last year's budget.
That's
and
correct.
that came in, and this is to go ahead and add that into the budget in the correct places, which is, we often do these. And I didn't see any reason not to approve it, so did you wanna?
And just for the funding itself, it was requested for, was for a couple of projects at the Public Health office. One of which was the paving of the parking lot out front, out and around the front of the building. And the other is a renovation upgrade of the restrooms in the facility. So it was an opportunity to apply for it. I presume it was some grant funding. And they received it. And like you, as you mentioned, Commissioner Doro, it wasn't anticipated in the budget. This is the process to receipt the funds in and then appropriate them for expenditure.
Well, with that, I would move to approve resolution number 2024-05 in the matter of appropriating funds due to unexpected occurrence or condition in regard to Public Health / Rural Health Fund 245. it would be an increase in both the revenue line and in the materials and supplies expense line of $31,450.
A second.
Motion has been made and seconded in support of resolution 2024-05 in the matter of appropriating funds due to unexpected occurrence or condition in regards to public health rural health fund 245. Increases in revenue and materials and supplies lines of $31,450. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries.
No, that's from the 21st. It still says we need an updated date
Okay,
for this to occur at the last
can
meeting.
you, Treasurer Heaney, I believe prepared this resolution. Can you run around the corner there and see if she has it in her computer? Or do you-
I believe
Yeah.
you have, you're just signing the wrong one, C.
Yes, I updated it online.
Can you print it?
Yeah.
Yes, that'd be awesome, and then we'll sign it. Yes.
Yeah, please. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, we'll move on then real quick, like then the next two items are just more or less procedural. Have a letter from the Oregon Desert Land Trust for vacation of easement, and again from the Oregon Desert Land Trust for purchasing mineral rights. When county properties are obtained through tax foreclosure purposes and then sold at auction, there's a standardized statement that retains road easement rights and mineral rights to those properties. The county created a procedure for returning these, for removing the right-of-way rights and the sale. Basically, it's a sale, it's a flat amount of $300 if there's not any major value associated with the mineral rights. If there are, we have to, the part of the process is we have to retain a geologist to do a survey, and I'm not sure to what degree that is. If it's just a simple survey based on the surrounding areas, you know, databases and whatnot, I'm not sure what that entails. But much like the letters of application or request that we received for surrendering or removing the streets that we got here a couple months ago for the rights of ways on those roads. Same thing. I'm just treating these letters as the application for that, and then the process will ensue
Be
after that.
reviewed and
Yeah.
then come back to us.
Yeah, and there is a county ordinance, I'll bring it in next time, that the courts determined a process for this process to take place. So anyway, those are just letters to the court requesting that be done, so I'm just treating it as an application requesting those processes be undertaken.
Yeah.
So are you looking for a motion or just? was that
No.
just
So just
the prep?
recognition of,
Yeah, just recognition of the request is
Okay.
all, just to give it an official start date, so to speak, and. Next,
so we do have, because they enclosed their 3 applications for mineral rights removal, so those applications were received.
yes, yes, and I do have them on my desk.
Okay. And then
These were the cover letters that were
all
off
associated.
packages.
Okay.
And some of these, in some instances, just to give some context, I know one of these pieces of property is a rectangular piece, I don't know the exact size of it, but it's within a pivot. It's a chunk of ground that's within an established pivot that the requester owns all the surrounding property on it.
Yeah, there's still a lot of cleanup to be done where land's been utilized differently over time.
I think I've talked with the clerk, and the assessor's office, and I think maybe it would be we might amend that process that was established in 2009, I think it was, that resolution. And it might be worth amending that resolution to remove that just blanket statement that the county retains those rights and do the review before sale and determine whether there's reason to want to hang on to those mineral rights.
Have to come back.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah, to streamline it for the purchaser, so yeah, then in 5 years or 10 years or whatever, they realize for whatever reason, it causes an encumbrance on that property for them for financing purposes maybe, or whatever. But review that at the time of sale instead of having to duplicate work down the road. So that's on that topic. I've got amended,
So you said you'd bring that ordinance.
Yes, I
at the
can.
next meeting and
Yeah.
then we both can see. I printed out all the resolutions in case there's more than one.
Okay.
amendment.
So we have an amended copy of this resolution 2024-05 with the, done and dated this 4th day of March 2024. And then the next topic under new business is resolution 2024-07 road naming application. So by policy, by the planning, Harney County Planning, if we have a road with 2 or more residents on that road, it then has to be given a name for 911 purposes, dispatch purposes.
Just two?
Yes,
Okay.
two or more is the.
I don't know, I thought it was three.
Yeah, under that impression too, but.
Yeah, in years past, at least verbally, I would hear that it was whenever there's a third.
I mean, there's obviously 1, 2, 3. 4.
Yeah. I also am noting, and I will follow up with our GIS coordinator. These documents have old email addresses, old references in the margins on who's chambered. It just thinks it needs updating, so I'll get with him.
Oh, I take that back. It does say purpose, when 3 or more homes. I thought I had been told 2. So it specifically says in this
We're not
application,
crazy.
No. when 3 or more homes on a road, any private road that provides access to 3 or more buildings and requires a name in order to promote the health, safety, welfare of the public. So, resolution before us is in the matter of the road naming in the county of Harney, state of Oregon. Whereas the county zoning ordinance section 9 requires that any private road that provides access to 3 or more buildings and requires a name in order to promote the health. So the proposed name, the new name of the road in the county shall be called Mustang Lane. Is the proposed name in the application.
We don't know what the current lane name is. I'm trying to find that.
I wanna,
It's unnamed, isn't it?
Well,
Just-
yeah, but they all
they give
have
them-
different
They
lane
give them Crane,
numbers.
they
have
give them
numbers.
Crane Buchanan. It looks like on this map, if you.
But a lot of times they'll call them like lane 16 and.
I know, but when I looked at this, I thought what was funny was that you had.
Trying to orient myself.
See how they say Crane Buchanan Road on these addresses, but yet Crane Buchanan Road is off
Crane
to the
Buchanan
right.
Road, yeah.
In a different orientation.
So where
So
is-
here's Crane Buchanan Road and here's these homes and they call them Crane Buchanan
so
right now.
this is
Yes,
the lane that they're.
correct. I remember it took me a minute to figure that out.
I don't see any reference to any previous naming in the application.
Because usually they just put the mailboxes all out here, you know what I mean?
So that was probably given a different. Yeah.
The
They're not-
application just indicates the current lane is unnamed.
That's right. Some of them aren't named still. That might be the last thing.
Look like it has had any previous designation to it. In the application requirements, it says, the application will then go before the Harney County Court. The court will then decide if the proposed name is consistent with Harney County zoning ordinance, section 9.100. GIS has reviewed it, our GIS specialist has reviewed it, has no concerns. So I will entertain any questions, comments, or resolution, or a motion.
Question? I move to approve resolution 2024-07 in the matter of road naming in the county of Kearney, state of Oregon. With the new name being called Mustang Lane in the application that was submitted.
I second.
A motion has been made and seconded regarding resolution 2024-07 in the matter of road naming in the county of Kearney, state of Oregon. Wherein the new road name will be Mustang Lane. Description of the location of this says the road access is approximately 1 mile south of East Lane 16 on Crane Buchanan Road. So there's one of those roads with a lane number,
I
whatever.
was familiar with that one. I just saying, but
Asked it
kind of
yesterday.
16, you know,
I could picture because it didn't have a name.
Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. Next topic under new business is DEQ Soils Workshop. And I don't have a point of contact on here for that. Is that,
I didn't submit that item.
I don't have anything in my packet for it.
I know the DEQ held a meeting the other day where the city of Burns is not meeting the particle requirements anymore. Yeah, they really.
Is that for the air quality?
Yes.
I'm not sure what
Gary
that,
Schillenberg or something.
I'm interested in that, what, the particle requirement, has the level been changed officially? Up or down? I mean, I thought that they had,
So lowering annual PM 2.5.
because when they want a lot of prescribed burns, they raise it so you can breathe in more of the bad stuff and get the burns done, and then sometimes they'll say, oh, the public health will change it again. I know that the Oregon DEQ standard is more health harmful than the national standard. Or at least it used to be. I haven't looked at it lately.
Soils were.
But this is
So that's
soil.
where I'm like,
So,
He just has to be out.
so were you saying that for whatever reason, some of the burn soils, things are not meeting standard last you heard, or?
there was somebody.
Or was it air?
Last year on
Oh,
the
okay.
agenda.
that's like, that's all I've heard from DEQ.
You can't have all our oil all the time. Well, either there was a workshop or there wasn't a workshop, or there's going to be, or there isn't going to be,
So
but
it's having trouble communicating.
Holly's looking for some email traffic on that, but, we don't have anything in the packet and there's nobody present for it, so I'm gonna say let's move on.
And a lot of times, you know, those are things that cross, Jesse Barnes's plate.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Jesse Barnes says, could you please put me on the next county board agenda? I'll be discussing the upcoming DEQ workshop that will be held in Harney County this May. And we'll be asking for permission to complete the site evaluations on some of the county-owned properties, Jesse Barnes.
So let's forego that one for now then, and if you'll reach out to her, she's in the planning department. You'll reach out to her and see if we can reschedule to the next county court session. Next topic is resolution 2024-08, corrective budget action, personal services, state unemployment insurance. So at the time of budget preparation this past year, we didn't have the rate that the unemployment insurance was going to charge us this year until after budget process. And then when I think we budgeted at the rate that it was last year, which was 0.6%. Yes, was at 0.6%, and then the rate for this year then came out to be 1.2%, doubling what we had budgeted for. So this has caused some shortfalls in every personal services category in every fund in the county budget. This resolution then helps correct that and move some funds from other categories, such as in the road department, moving from capital outlay and administration to personal services, the building fund from administration to building service or to personal services, etc. So that's what we're taking care of with this resolution.
So why is it just those particular funds?
Well, I'm gonna presume, and as I was kind of thinking the same thing here as I was looking at it. What I'm gonna presume is one, say like for instance, you don't see the general fund there, which we have personal services and general fund. But general fund has enough other lines built into the personal services that may cover. Yes. Yeah, so I'm gonna,
But for instance, I don't see public health RHC. They're their own fund, aren't they?
A lot of these are ones with very few personnel.
And therefore, why would,
So in your personnel line, your buffer is smaller if you have less people in it. And so these
Okay.
ones have fewer employees in each of these funds, and so it probably triggered
Except
them
road
faster,
department has a lot of,
but they might not have been calculated correctly.
except like road department has a lot of personnel.
Mhm.
But is that's also got a capital outlay, one in it, it's also being.
So I would speculate from analysis of each fund that has personal services in it, that looking at positions occupied and unoccupied. So if a position was vacant, which I know the health department has a couple of positions that were vacant for quite a while, and one of them is still vacant. The FEP coordinator is vacant, and the TPEP, the tobacco prevention coordinator, was vacant for a while. So those funds that weren't used in salary in those positions go to the overall in number of the category for personnel services. So therefore, those funds will help cover the shortfall
If they receive,
without having.
I'm not trying to go down a rabbit trail, just if those which are grant funded, right, or, positions, and if they don't get filled, do we end up having to give the money back? I mean,
Well, I think those funds are from which in roundabout, I guess, would be a grant.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
We couldn't pull it from a grant that's not being utilized.
Yes. But those positions are, I think they're funded by the Healthcare Modernization Act, is where those funds come from for those positions. And again, I don't know if those were awarded in lump sum through the contract with the Oregon Health Administration. I'd have to do further digging into that, but,
These are the ones that have been noted at this
Yeah.
time.
okay, all right.
Yeah, because you can definitely see in the road department that, in budgeting process, we definitely didn't know it. But the others were off by much in comparison. But they did have a lot less employees.
so. In the matter of resolution 2024-08, in the matter of interfund transfer of appropriations within categories for state unemployment insurance. Fund 202 will be an increase, personal services category will be an increase of $8,500. Capital outlay will be a decrease of $2,000, and administration a decrease of $6,500. The building program, Fund 213, will have an increase in personal services of $1,000. Administration category, we'll see a decrease of $1,000. Community Corrections, Fund 214, personal services will see an increase of $2,000. Administration, a decrease of $2,000. The BLM Sheriff's Contract, Fund number 220, personal services increase of $1,000. Capital outlay decrease of $1,000. Harney County Fair Fund 252. Personal services increase of $1,000 and administration decrease of $1,000. That's it.
So is that your motion? Or was that?
Well, just a reading of it is
That's just
actually what
reading.
we're doing, so I would entertain a motion. As read.
I'd move to approve resolution 2024-08 in the matter of interfund transfer of appropriations within categories for state unemployment insurance, as was just read.
I second.
A motion has been made and seconded for an approval of resolution 2024-08 in the matter of interfund transfer of appropriations within categories for state unemployment insurance as read. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. Next topic is correspondence, and I received a letter from Carrie Boggs. His resignation from the Harney County Wolf Committee, and you may have already been aware of that.
But you made me aware, but I had not received it
But
directly.
just as official notification, noting this letter of resignation for Carrie Boggs from the Wolf Committee.
And I have one also that I just received last night from Cam Swisher. If I can find it now. He's just saying that he wanted to thank us for the opportunity to serve on the Harney County NRAC. It's been informative and educational, but he feels it's come time to move on. And that he's formally resigning from the NRAC committee at this time. But he does have a suggestion for a potential person that he would let know the vacancy, so when we open it up, that they might participate in his stead.
Okay.
Was he filling a particular expertise slot?
Kind of, I mean,
Well,
those are general areas.
Yeah.
I would have to pull it up. I would
Okay,
say I just
alright.
received this recently, but.
So,
So those will be two that I'll work with, Holly, and getting posted. We can advertise those together.
I was gonna say, I'd like to, at the same time, and it might be a separate advertisement, but while you're working on doing those two, we need to advertise for, elected officials compensation board and,
Budget committee?
budget committee. We have one vacancy, which, Holly Smith has, submitted a letter to be reappointed.
But we need
Yeah, we
But
to
we need to
advertise.
advertise.
And
Because I know there is another party interested in serving in that position, and it's advertised too, so. And then did you have interest in advertising biomass?
Oh, yeah,
County at large
yes.
position?
Yeah, so we'll do some work on advertising different vacancies that we have.
I'll work with her on the NRAC and Wolf Committee if you want to work with her on the others.
And once we get the process, it'll be just mirrored for the other boards and for the vacancies. Other correspondence that I had received, I wanted to let the court know that CIS, our City County Insurance Services, this past year had put out an opportunity for grant funds. One for security cameras, grant award, risk management security cameras, and I had applied, submitted an application for that. As you may remember, the road department, some time ago, it's been about a year ago maybe, had experienced a break-in down in the county yards down there. As part of that, they erected some new chain link fence and everything, but I thought maybe if we could get funds for a camera system, that would be a good place to put one. So, time went on. I think they had some staffing issues. Time went on and I didn't think we were gonna get it or that we hadn't been awarded it. And then all of a sudden I found out here, last month that we did receive it. It's $3,500. And, with other funds, just depending on what it'll end up costing for installation and the actual, system that we choose. We have $3,500 towards that.
do you know, will it be quite a bit more?
I did when I submitted for this or for this grant, I did a search of security camera systems. And that was about ballpark for fairly decent systems. It's not gonna be tied, it won't be tied into our system like here at the courthouse and monitored but it'll at least provide a recording capability that if something happens, then they'll have recordings to go back to and check. And it may end up costing an additional $500 to $1,000 beyond, but I figured that was minimal enough to. The bulk of it's being paid for by this grant, so.
Good.
And then the other one that we received, I had contacted, it was a cybersecurity grant. And I had contacted Actec, our IT contractor, and asked them to look at the grant, and they submitted an application for it, and we received 5,000, 4,000, I thought it was 5,000. This letter says 4,000. So we received a $4,000 grant award from CIS for cybersecurity, and Actec is working on following through on that.
Does it look like that would cover the entire cost of what they're gonna do?
I don't know yet. I don't know what I need to coordinate a little bit more with Actech and find out exactly what they're gonna propose to. Cause I had them submit it. Not being in the IT world and cybersecurity world, I had them submit it on our behalf. So,
And these have been receipted.
no, they're reimbursables.
Oh,
So
reimbursables.
once we expand them, as soon as we get the receipts to them, they'll reimburse us for them.
Okay.
And they're ready to pay it out as soon as possible, so it shouldn't take long to get funds back. So I had those two letters, and that's all I had for correspondence.
This was in my mailbox. It was just a record of decision from the BLM. Patty and I have already read it, but you can
Yeah.
submit it.
I
I'm sure
got,
you've already seen.
I got one, it came in the mail last week while I was gone to conference, so I opened it up this morning and read it.
Okay.
Being that it was short, I didn't add it to the packet.
No, it's, say not.
So
Appreciate you
it.
sharing it. I didn't.
In summary, so letter from the Department of the Interior Bureau of Land Management, record of decision, an approved resource management plan. And this is for the Vale District. We will add a copy of this letter to the packet, and it has, website links for the public to review if they choose. That's all I have for correspondence. Commissioner Shellman, Commissioner Doral, anything else?
Not correspondence.
Yeah, I'll wait till general deliberations.
Okay. I see Community Planning Director popped in. Did you have, something for us?
It's not on the agenda at all,
Okay.
if it's all right. I was, out of the office at the state for the boys. They were playing over in Coos Bay. Got sixth place, by the way. Right before we left though, Brett, Thomas, and, Rick and I, met with the state to discuss the process for moving away from inspections provided by them. It seems as though it will be a fairly seamless process. However, they did tell us that a resolution will need to be passed to officially designate Rick as our building official in order for us to take on those responsibilities in-house. I miscalculated and thought that we had a couple of days before I could get back, and it looks like county court is happening today. His first day is the 18th, so I imagine we'll most likely need to have something ready by the 20th.
Can you get that drafted up for us? Can you check around, see what has worked other places, what type of language, and write it up for us?
I certainly can.
And it, if it did need action prior to the 20th, but his employment doesn't start till the 18th anyway, we could, meet prior if needed, but if you feel the 20th is fine, then.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many official actions he'll need to take in 2 days' time, but he did feel that it was necessary to have that taken care of before he started.
Once we have done that, does that just get added to the state's process, and will that still continue to be a process for a while, or is it all ready to go waiting on our resolution?
Our contractual obligations with the state are more on a service provider status. So they are a building official because we don't have one. But other than that, they are a service provider for commercial inspections. So we can select whichever service provider we feel is most appropriate for the program's success. And that's the direction we'll decide to move forward. They understand that.
Do you think they need a letter from the court, just making that official beyond the resolution?
It may not hurt the scenario. It's been communicated.
But you could work something like that
Yeah.
up in
Go ahead and
conjunction with
draft
the
those up.
resolution.
Yeah. And, there could be, I think it's probably smart to keep that relationship together so that if we do need their services sometime in the future, or in a pinch or something, we can call them up and say, hey, we've got our contract with you, it's all set up. We need this commercial electrical inspection, and we can sure use your help and see if that's a possibility.
And we're still gonna need their help on some things for a while, right? Until Rick gets all of his certifications.
Yes, but we may have relationships with another county that can buy us time before we cover up some of those as well. So we have options.
If you could just draft up whatever we need to do, we'll do it.
Okay. Thought it would be nice to communicate it on the record that we're moving ahead and things are progressing. So,
So, good, thank you.
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you.
So after correspondence, next item is scheduling.
I am not going to be here physically March 13th for our county court work session discussion, public meeting on creation of county administrator and transition to board of commissioners. I can, however, Zoom in if that is adequate. I don't know if we still have a lot to talk about at this point. Do you have any job descriptions that?
we have obtained quite a few job descriptions. Being gone half the week last week, a lot of them come in the first part of the week and whatnot. But I can package those all up and send it out to both of you for review
Okay.
and comment on those at that time. We do have a work session this afternoon at 2 o'clock regarding the health department and RHC structure. And then regular county court sessions, again, should be back to the first and third Wednesday of the month, March 20th and April 3rd. At the same time, 9:30 a.m. for bill pay, accounts payable review, and regular session at 10 a.m. Any other scheduling?
No, I just noticed that as we start back and do quarterly CRT meetings, that's gonna be on the 12th of March. I won't be here for that, but, it'd be good to get that word out. There'll still be a lot of Association of Oregon County Steering Committee stuff that I'll be able to zoom into for the ones that I attend, happening on the 11th and the 8th. Commissioner Shellman's on the Division 512 Rules Advisory Committee, and that's going to be happening on the 6th. Here in town, as well as there's a Zoom option, and then that'll be followed by that Harney domestic well remediation public session where they can really help potential applicants.
What was that on? Division 512 on when?
The 6th.
March?
It's 1 to 5 this Wednesday.
It's the next county court meeting day of March 20th. I have noted that we were going to do a 2 o'clock public work session again on contracts. Is that still something you need at this point?
While I'm still gathering and trying to find contracts.
The vector control one,
Yes.
was that on our original list?
No, but I mentioned it at the last meeting and he wrote it down.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have, a
Contract.
letter from them advising us what the rates will be this year, but I don't have per se a contract for them, so I need to find that, see if we
I'm
need.
pretty sure there was one.
Well, there might be, I just haven't.
Okay.
Like, I think it was in a
Was it?
packet that we tabled it until we heard from the cities. I know both cities have signed their contracts and they're hoping
Oh, that-
counties would be signing soon too.
I don't recall exactly that,
I
but
do-
I don't doubt it if that's what you recall.
I recall which meeting you're talking about now. And I did get a text message from City of Pines Administrator Kirby Latham regarding that topic. So I will try to at least put that stuff together for either that meeting or for county court session to approve. Or I guess some of those things we need to kind of talk about,
That one would need to be on the 20th, because it's,
yeah.
we have to take action on it.
Well, and that's something, intermediate procurement is, went up this year, went up to from 24,000 to 124,000, I
So it
believe.
would fall within that.
It would fall in between that, and then, can't think what the term is, for anything that's below that is direct, you don't have to do anything, you can just direct contract
Anything under the.
anything under the $24,000. So, in those types of instances, does the court want to see those intermediate procurements?
Yes.
Or, okay,
I'd like us to eyeball them, you know, or let me just mention that it's.
I do.
are you prepared for,
Yeah, I just had information to share.
okay.
So
So,
I completely was like, yeah, county court, oh, that's Wednesday, do. Brandon's like, no, it's today.
so we shall revisit then under new business, DEQ, is it solace or supposed to be soils?
Soils.
Soils workshop.
Yes. So every year DEQ puts on a soils workshop for both DEQ agents and county agents. And this year they are like, Harney County, we've never been there. Sorry. So Harney County is being asked to provide access to test holes. And I'm currently working with private landowners to identify some challenging locations. Since we'll have like 30 experts on the trip. And if we don't have enough, I was gonna ask county court if we could maybe utilize some of the foreclosed properties that are on the county books to use for sites to look at.
And we'd had this topic once before. I think if we pick some properties that are currently in county ownership as a result of foreclosures, tax foreclosures, that's sure, why not? It just increases the value of the property. And I would think even with these new provisions, under foreclosed property guidelines, those would be funds that we should be able to either hold on to as, what we have vested into those properties, in the sale, so we would retain from the bulk of the sale. And there is legislation right now in the state on that, foreclosed property issues, the excess above, owed property taxes and fees. We'll have to wait and see exactly what that washes out to, but I briefly read the
I did submit written testimony for what it's worth.
yeah, and it clears up a lot. I think it's gonna provide a statute of limitations. It'll allow for reasonable expenses that the county has incurred in those properties, and I would pretty much think that it's gonna benefit the value of the property, so we should be able to recoup those costs.
Jesse, when are they gonna be here?
May 21st and 22nd, I believe is the correct date.
And calling it a workshop, is there a workshop aspect or just it's
So-
field trip?
Yes
field
and no.
visits?
They do a virtual soils workshop, so we review, any new rule and regulation changes, tell some kind of crazy stories and some experiences along that way for the virtual side of it. And then we spend a total of one whole day out in the field. So it'll be half a day. I believe it's Wednesday and then the morning of Thursday.
So May 20, yeah, no, that's not county court. No, I was just gonna say that's, if you need any of us to
Okay,
be supportive. And meet them. let us
you guys
know.
can come along and, part of it as well, hopefully we'll still have our intern in the planning program. He has been shadowing both the planning, the building, and the on-site environmental health. And so long as he's depends on when state for track falls. I'm like, hey, would you like to go with us? It'll be fun. Cause it'll bring a whole nother experience and a lot more different types of knowledge for him to experience as part of that as well.
And I apologize, what was the date of the workshop?
I believe it's the 21st and 22nd of
Of
May.
May?
Let me double check that. No, I'm sorry, it's the 22nd and 23rd.
And have you, well, have you determined whether or not you're gonna have enough pieces of private parcels to do your stuff on?
It'll be really close.
How many are there?
We were asked, I was asked to provide 2 to 3 different locations each day. So if I had a total of 6 different locations that I could take people to, I think right now I've got 4 locations that are on private property that they're like, oh, that would be cool. Because a couple of
So
the,
you have to dig test holes. at
Yes.
Those sites.
and I spoke to Eric Drusella and was like, hey, Eric, as a county road man with the backhoe, would you dig me some test holes? So it's a possibility if we need to use any additional locations, if the county would like to participate, and then all they would need is a conditional use permit to build on the property. Somebody bought it and wanted to build a house.
Interesting.
Any out in Crane?
There's some properties out there, but
I wanted interesting ones.
That's why.
no interesting ones. There's a couple of properties, one of
Did you
them.
dig a well first?
No, that's a true story. There's one property right close to town that the Sylvies River goes almost 3 edges of the property, and there's a pond in the middle of it. And it used to have a house on it, and they want to rebuild and
This by the dam?
close. And so it will be a tricky site if we can get it approved.
So maybe should
So, maybe, but there's another one that they're looking at a future build, and it's in the floodplain, and currently ag production. We know there's gonna be some water issues there, so it'd be nice to have a giant group of people that,
delve into it.
yeah,
Interesting.
so it could be entertaining.
Well, if it comes up that you need a couple parcels of county-owned, land, whatever, to make up that 6 or whatever you need, I'm in favor.
Yeah,
I would say yes.
yeah, if you just want to work with Judge Hart on
Okay.
whatever one she's like,
That'd be great.
or if you need him to
Come out.
go out and look.
Shovel.
Backhoe, shovel.
I've actually had.
Voluntary.
I had one site evaluation that was dug by hand with a shovel. And those were the best test holes as far as someone digging the test holes. They were spectacular. There was actual like 4 steps into the bottom of the test hole that was wide. So it was pretty nice. It's like, you guys are real deep.
Just for a little background, what does that process entail? How big of a hole? And then you
So-
put water in it, right?
Nope, they don't do that
They don't
anymore.
do that anymore, per test? or-
No more perk tests aren't that way or completed that way anymore. Now, a site evaluation typically includes at least 2 test holes that are 50 feet deep in the area that you would like to place the drain field, not where the septic tank goes. They need to be sloped on one end for access. 5 feet.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you said.
No, 5 feet deep.
I was like, my test holes were not there.
No, 5 feet deep, and the test holes, they need to be 75 to 100 feet apart. Typically in the Harney Valley, in most of Harney County, most of our drain field approvals are right about 300 linear feet, either side of that. On average, there are the exciting ones that are way bigger, but for the most part, that's about how big your drain field needs to be. And at least 100 feet away from any water source.
So then what do they just dig a hole and see if there's any groundwater that comes up? or-
So we look for groundwater that comes up at the bottom of the test hole. We look for different soil properties that classifies it as a sand or a clay or a loam. And then we look for your different rooting depths, how many roots are in the soil. We look for hard pan. Is it a cemented layer? Is it diggable by hand? Do we have root structure underneath it? We look for the different sizes of the soil on how it breaks off the sidewall of the test hole. If it's blocky or sand or powder. And then we look at any kind of redox features. So if you're ever digging in a soil and you have a discoloration in your soil, that's remnant of a water table is what that displays. Or if you have rust spots in your soil, that's also evidence of a high water table. So,
So it's more of a soil analysis than it is the drain qualities of the.
correct.
Which are different soils indicate your drainage.
So that's pretty much what we look for. The more clay you have in your soil, the larger drain fields you need, because clay kind of acts like it's hydrophobic and doesn't like to take the water, but once it does, it holds on to it for a really long time. So you need a bigger drain field. So. Again, I apologize for being late. I had my days messed up.
Well, we probably didn't get the word out.
No, I was sent the correct date. I'm like, oh yeah. When I got to work today, I was like, oh yeah, Wednesday. I'm looking at my calendar.
No,
Thank you.
Wednesday's the Division 512.
So, but yeah, so I don't think it should be fairly simple and quick, and I'll give you a list of properties if we need to get to them, just to make sure we have legal access one way or the other.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have fun. Thanks for hosting that and showcasing Harney County in the process.
It will be. I think they're planning on staying at quite a few of the different hotels in town.
How many of them are coming?
There should be close to 25, 30 people. 2 buses full of people.
Oh.
I said, hey, we're coming to Harney County. You are volunteering to do this. And I said, okay.
Awesome.
So voluntold.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've seen a couple of other late people come in, maybe didn't realize we were having county court today.
Yeah. No.
Did you have something for the court?
No, not really. Have you filled them in on the software update for 911 and?
I haven't, because we have that meeting tomorrow morning and I wasn't, until we have a couple of different software vendors that presented their products. And kind of know where you guys are leaning, but I didn't want to say anything official until that decision's made. I'll let you know, I'll be there tomorrow morning. I have to go out of town for some appointments tomorrow, but I'll be there for that meeting tomorrow morning and then I gotta leave.
And we did have a question for you, McCartney. Reached out to Brittany earlier. He was wondering, are you going to write that letter for the $500,000 grant? Or do you want him to do it? Do you want us to do it? Need to get that.
So one topic with this software purchase, one of the vendors, initially they had looked at all the 6 entities who utilize and contribute in fees to the dispatch center. We're going to split the cost 6 ways. And originally they looked at having each one of those entities pay their own amount to the software vendor. And then the vendor came and said, well, it'd be a lot easier if the county was the financier and we had one person to deal with instead of 6 different entities to deal with. So what that would look like is we, the county, would be the financier since we manage it and we're the administrator of the facility. We would be the applicant with the vendor as the financing entity. And then the other 6 entities or 5 entities that would be contributing towards those payments, we would do an MOU with them on those dollar amounts, amortized over 5 years or 6 years or whatever it turns out to be. But there's an opportunity through the CJC grant,
DOJ.
DOJ Department, Oregon Department of Justice, right? Yeah, Oregon Department of Justice, grants for $500,000 grant. Roughly, and I don't have the exact numbers, but roughly, I wanna say it's 700,000 and something
728.
Yeah. On the one vendor anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So this 500,000 would pretty much take care of, you know,
Is it
3/4.
competitive?
The grant, I don't know, Chief McCartney had done all the research on it. Then they had a webinar on it the other day, and I was halfway through it, tied up before I got into it, so I didn't get to hear all of it. Again, because if we're the financier, it would be better if we were the applicant for the grant as well. It would be easier to reseat the funds in and out and everything if we were the financer, the applicant for it. So in saying that, I would prefer that you guys do that if you could, for the county.
I'll let Mr. Chief McCartney know and
Okay,
have it ready for the meeting tomorrow, so
Okay.
everybody can sign in. Is it a state or federal grant? You said state? Department of Justice. So, yeah.
Oregon Department of Justice, all right,
State, yeah. And they just want a letter stating what we need it for and who all's involved, and we'll sign it and they'll order it to us in October.
Pretty easy
Yeah.
application.
Yeah.
If, I don't know, and like I said, I missed first portion of that call the other day. I don't know if we discussed or if they talked, if it would be beneficial for signatories, for all the different users to
Definitely, yeah.
to
On the
sign it.
letter.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, okay.
that's why they were trying to get it ready today so that people can sign it tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, no, that'd be great. If you guys would do that, please.
Yeah, right, thank you. Thank you.
Little background on what we're talking about here. The software that the dispatch uses for dispatching, for records keeping and everything, report writing doesn't really meet all of their needs. And it's also not compatible with computer aided dispatch.
The CAD system.
Yeah, there's another acronym that goes with that for basically for the car units. For the laptops in the cars.
As they briefed on something on that before, that some of the system.
We're
That's
20
compatible.
years behind here on this stuff, and I was listening to Harney County Live driving in, and Heinz and Burns Police.
Did they speak to it? I know
Yeah, they were
on the radio.
speaking about it,
There's
so
an article in the newspaper on the front page as well, that's stuck to it.
and they're, again, I don't know all the vendors and all the options and the prices, but the one they're leaning toward is about $750 million, and at least Chief McCartney was saying it goes up, 2 years from now, it'll probably be closer to $1 million type of thing. Doesn't mean that you feel pressured to buy it just because of that, but and kind of like doing electronic timesheets. I was doing that in 1991 with an employer back east. Harney County just finally came around, did it, a few years back. So I mean, we're probably way behind on some of that stuff, and it's really important to do it right, so.
I can, I attended one of the vendors' demos. And one of the demos or one of the vendors I have experience with, somewhat loosely related experience with in my previous employment. And it's a good package. And it's scalable, that we'll be able to scale up a bit as needs come along for the departments here locally. So, but that meeting is tomorrow morning. It's the 911 committee meeting. It is also a public meeting as well, so. But that's what that's in regards to.
They don't have Zoom for those meetings, do they?
No, we haven't been doing the Zoom on those,
Just asking.
so. So correspondence, scheduling general deliberation. I just, quickly say that this past week I was gone to the, as I mentioned before, I was gone to the CIS conference, the annual conference. They gave us the new rates for our insurance and liability coverage. On average, it was 5 to 6% per program increase this next year.
That's big.
I don't have all the specifics for each specific program, but, it's 5 to 6% on average. It was a good conference. A lot of it, I mean, it deals with all the stuff that CIS does for us, loss prevention, which includes, you know, labor issues to vehicle insurance and everything in between. Loss prevention deals a lot with what we can do to mitigate and not have those claims. So then our premiums hopefully are kept lower. It helps everybody throughout they cover our health insurance. I didn't get the chance, one of the questions I wanted to ask with all the different cities and counties, and I gave a number of employees that they basically are covered. And,
How we can't get a better break. for
Yeah.
it.
yeah, that we should have better buying power because of those numbers. So I didn't get a chance to talk with somebody on that topic while I was there.
I'm probably not gonna tell you the answer there.
There was,
As much as we can.
there was classes on law enforcement, public safety, you know, loss prevention and mitigation, policy creation. There were classes on supervisory leadership, you know, and how to deal with employee relations. It was good. The content was good. It was worth the time. I don't know if it's something that I myself would attend on an annual basis. But it's good to stay in touch with maybe every other year or something, but it's definitely good for our HR person to attend. One big takeaway that I took away from it is, again, as we've talked about before, is just our lack in policy. There's a lot of topics that they spoke to that our policy either needs to be improved, or that we may address it, but we don't address it to the degree that it should be, or that we don't have policy at all on different topics, so.
Little off topic, but what's the nature of our county car pool lately? I haven't had to check one out forever for county cars. How many
There's
do we have?
three.
Are they fairly old?
2011, 2013, 2015.
Do they get used a lot?
What's the mileage, do you know roughly what the mileage is
I have
on?
no idea what the mileage
Okay.
is.
Well, my car, I mean, traditionally the judge's car, but I don't care, I share it with you guys and whoever. It's a 2017, I believe, and it has 82,000 miles on it, still got plenty of life left in it.
Just curious, I had to check one out, but back in the day. We had some, I just didn't know
I think,
if they're used a lot or not, or people.
I think they're all Edges, aren't they? Ford Edges, the three of them? They're Explorers. Good vehicles, should last us a while. So. I will be out tomorrow and Wednesday. Rescheduled appointments that I have. Hope to be, I tentatively, well, my schedule, I blocked myself out Thursday as well, just in case, you never know, but hopefully I'll be back on Thursday. Still pushing forward with the budget process. I'm starting to receive back the worksheets from the departments. And get out the advertisement and the scheduling with the departments for the individual budgets. And just busy, a lot of other tasks.
Question on elected official compensation board. What is your approach going to be? Because I think the fact that we've held them consistently for a number of years means we're probably pretty much in a decent zone for that. But are you just gonna seek people to appoint, to have them convene, and then if they decide it's an abbreviated process that year. So
Well, I did hear, and I need to research the statute to look at it a little bit closer, but I did hear from another county that they don't do it. And we were like, well, I thought you had to by statute, and they said that if the court is getting the same, or your elected officials are getting the same, like we did last year, a 3% across the board for everybody. If the elected officials are getting the same thing that the other rank and file is getting, then you don't have to do an elected officials compensation board. So I have to research that, and that was based on that. So my reasoning is that I know a couple of years ago, there was some pretty good adjustments in the elected officials' salaries. And in the past, even this last year's compensation, elected officials compensation committee, for the most part, I know they had some other recommendations, but for the most part, I think ours are within comparableness with whatever you can consider comparable from county to county. So I don't think, as you mentioned, I don't think there would be a lot of work for them to do. And just be, if we're just gonna do the 2% or a 3% or a 4%, whatever that looks like across the board, as long as the elected officials are getting the same thing, then potentially we may not have to do that. So I gotta research that before we need to go advertise.
That one's a hard one to get people to volunteer for. Do you have any others?
Nope, just if you have any questions for me.
I think I made sure Kristen got the email too, because I saw she wasn't on it originally, but a constituent reaching out about their concerns for safety on Highway 20, particularly when vehicles are trying to turn into the side roads off of 20 and the high speed of many of the trucks. And when there's two trucks in a row, the second one doesn't see that there's someone with a left turn signal and they decide to pass, right? There's dangerous situations. We've gotten input from constituents, I have at least over the years, for everything from where the Heinz mobile home park area is, all the way to if you're heading west toward Burns and coming off the Stinking Waters into that temporary rest stop, and then coming down to Ords. That's a very dangerous area. There's just when the speed limit was increased years ago to 65, I mean, that's good in a lot of areas, but now it's starting to sound like striping to prevent lane changes, signage, maybe speed limit change. It sounds like Rep. Owens in his office already researched the fact that there's a statute that could be changed next session or whatever if need be. But I feel like this is something we should try to look into. I know I'll do my part on that as well. And SEAC, I know last I heard, and this is a few years ago, is that everything has to have a safety study done first before they will move on it. There's a priority list, and it's somewhat a lengthy process and all that. And I would like to see if there are fatalities, then it gets higher in the priority, and we don't want to wait for that. We've had a lot of people saying this stuff happens on a regular basis and it's really getting scary. So let's all just be thinking about that.
I got the same email string and reviewed it. Obviously, like I said, being out last week, I didn't have a chance to reply to it. But I do agree in addressing SEAC and asking, at least in the interim, if we can get some signage, some intersection signage, warning that there's an intersection ahead, some of that double no passing striping to prevent some of that. And it looked like in one of those emails that technically right now truck traffic is only supposed to be at 60 miles per hour.
Yes, but
So that helps enforcement. If
Is it official? Because it's usually posted if there's a difference in truck traffic.
it's in statute.
But then that might be part
I
of the.
thought Mark had pulled that up for a potential change in statute. But it's
And I
not
thought it
current
said
statute.
65 and 6. Oh, maybe not.
I thought that he was considering proposing a change to lower this truck That's how I read it, but. I could be wrong.
They said what the existing language
Oh,
is.
that's exists.
Yeah.
Well, part of what we're also dealing with on top of that is the lack of having to have CDLs versus just passports for a lot of truck drivers on the road today.
Really? I didn't know.
If you're
I didn't know that.
from a foreign country, you can drive a truck by a passport instead of having to go through the normal CDL process. Therefore, you're much more likely to be unaware of some rules of the road. And that's becoming a greater thing that we're seeing here on our,
And since we always have to think
Highways.
about revenue,
so
Maybe
changing the
we can follow
requirement
that.
in the state of Oregon, if they were all required, to still have to go through the CDL process, it would,
oh my gosh,
be a big difference.
it's like licensed contractors. Oh, you're not gonna make some get a license? Oh, boy. But you gotta make all these other people
Yeah.
get licenses?
For the cost of what other folks are having to pursue a CDL, and then others being able to just drive on a passport, it's quite a.
I did not know that. That's really.
It does look like would be a proposed amendment to ORS 811.111.
So did she send the proposed language or just that part of that ORS?
Well,
That's what I thought.
yeah, I thought it
We
was
could-
part of the ORS, but it looks like it's proposed. A person commits the offense of violating speed limit if a person drives a vehicle on a portion of State Highway 20 beginning in Bend and ending in Ontario at the speed greater than 60 miles per hour for vehicles described in subsection 1B,
That's the
which,
trucks.
which doesn't have that in this email. So I'm saying, I'm wondering if that's just their proposed language change.
She was just showing what exists so that it can be changed, but, again, we're not necessarily proposing that big a corridor, but, there was even a comment.
I would propose it to be that. I mean,
I'd like that too, but, at least within Harney County,
Yeah.
from Buchanan to Sagehen, at least, but Druzy, there's all those areas. I know when I'm coming, like, generally from Boise back to Burns, when I get to the Stinking Waters, I'll see what big trucks are up ahead, and I'll make my decision whether I'm gonna pass them or whether I'm just gonna be real patient and go slower, because when I come off of that rest stop area down into Ord, since I take a left onto Crane Buchanan, I don't want them behind me. I want them ahead of me because they are very dangerous.
I too, at a minimum, because of congestion in our agricultural area from Riley, or, probably the junction of 395 South Riley to the top of drinking water or stinking water. Drinking water.
There's good water and stinking water.
Yeah, but at least, at a minimum, that would cover our agricultural area where we do have an increase in.
well, a lot of those intersections are hard for folks that aren't familiar with the area to recognize as an intersection. It's such flat ground out here that they really aren't highlighted in any specific way, so just some signage and that would be, and further patrolling, getting the speed limit down up there's.
We shouldn't have to wait for fatalities to get something to happen, particularly if striping and signage will help a lot. That.
In the interim, before we could ever do anything.
That's
with
something
speed
that could be
limits.
done relatively quickly if the powers that be say it can.
So I'm gonna, yeah,
ODOT and quickly are not the same.
Yeah, but if only it was a county.
They should try it, they might like it.
I agree. And I got the same email and plan on working on it, so.
Yeah, and then, again, it was good to hear about the emergency management grant, but it will require match, and I don't know if there's money in the budget for it, but.
There might be, we still need to finish our carpeting on the third floor of the building, which we appropriated about, oh, wait a minute, what was that? It was 70, we figured it was 76, right? If we didn't have anything else going on, we could make it, but
And then budget that out another cycle, is that what you're proposing?
Yeah, the flooring. I mean, because if, I don't know what the window is, when we're gonna have to have these funds by.
I don't either. I'm not, micromanaging that. I just know that. It's great to have a grant, and if there's match required, and as you saw, I asked, how about in kind, and no, it sounds like not.
Yeah. So it'll just be a challenge in budgeting to find the funds, and
Do you,
I hate to pass up on it when it's that cost. I mean, when it costs that much, the benefit that it would provide. I.e. last week when we had to, or 2 weeks ago when we had to cancel
Is there,
county court because of a power outage.
so it'll power the whole building, including the third floor?
Yes,
Have you talked to the third floor, if there's any funding available for certain things that they can distribute to?
I don't know yet. I mean, I don't know if Melinda has yet or not. I haven't.
Okay, I'd be curious to know, because oftentimes they have other pools of money available.
Yeah.
That would also serve them and that they could, draw from potentially, so. If she hasn't, I would definitely want her to have that conversation.
A work in progress.
yeah, that was the main thing, and the fact that I would probably zoom in on March 13th to that public work session. Rather than be here.
Mr. Sherman?
Where to begin?
I did submit the 2024 grant application for the Wolf grant funds. We submitted category 1 funding due to the 2 depredations we had on record in the county. And then category 3 funds, which are the prevention funds, will only get a percentage, obviously, of whatever is divvied up. But, and then there's a small category that's your administrative costs. So that has been submitted. We'll see probably by May the results of that, and then work through it for round 2. We're getting our education on that one. We did have a Zoom meeting on February 20th that I attended, and that was very informational, and a lot of other counties actually know less than we do about it, so I didn't feel so bad. There's a lot of good questions asked, so I think we'll just keep working with the state on that and figuring out, is there's an entity that has federal money coming available in 2025, how that will change the structure of the state grant funding. And so that's, to be determined, but that could open up a lot of other prevention dollars. We're only getting a percentage of what we're applying for. That would be a whole other pool of money in 2025 that would be available for prevention through NRCS application, and so it wouldn't even be through the county process. So there's lots of information on that to be determined, and then hopefully in the long session they'll revive the compensation for depredation and a multiplier. That in the short session, that was very, very sad to see that they couldn't even get that through the short session, but it did not make it and was recommended to the long session. So we'll continue to support efforts for the multiplier. That is essential. Most of the states around us have the multiplier to recognize the fact that your one depredation is not your only cost associated with wolves interacting with your livestock. So those are all things that the Wolf Committee will stay tuned on, and then we'll let you know once we get confirmation on what we've got in the grant cycle. Then NRAC will meet. We haven't met for a while. It'll meet tomorrow night, kind of restructure what we want to tackle for the coming year. We've been focused with the wolf meetings, and so oftentimes when we're meeting with the wolf issues, we don't meet with the NRAC issues because they tend to bleed over together. And so we will have a meeting tonight or tomorrow night, and then get going on that again. There is grasshopper meetings coming up that Soil and Water Conservation District is hosting. Where before the NRAC was kind of getting that going a couple years ago. Now it's got legs, and the other entities and agencies are kind of taking a more dominant role in that. So that's nice to see. So,
Did they, and I wasn't following it closely, but did they ever decide on funding for fire? Prevention and. What
for
they
the
call,
land, for local landowners that have
Yeah.
forest ground.
well, that, and I don't, was it just forest ground? Because they,
It was
this
forest.
bill that they were looking at in the short session.
Well, they were looking
But they
at
were
the
gonna do a flat
statewide.
fee.
I asked about that and got very mixed signals on whether that piece was gonna move forward on it. And I haven't heard anything more. They kind of
I hadn't
acted like
either.
that was, news to them a little bit, which shocked me, but, I certainly hope it did move forward, but as all things in the short session, we shall see
Yeah.
in the next week.
Yeah.
But actually ended up getting the cusp finish line. I know they were still heavily negotiating the, number, for the landowners. And so I sincerely hope that they weren't trying to backfill with a statewide tax. But I haven't, heard anything more since our last call.
That's because there's a lot of backroom deals going on, apparently. I saw an article about that, how they're
The whole
doing
short
quite a
session.
few things where they want no public scrutiny at all. And, that's really upsetting.
A lot of that. Disappointing at best.
Any other discussion for the good of the order, so to speak?
Well, I just want to say that welcome to Holly, and she's doing a great job already. I can tell she's really on top, and many thanks to Susan Hodak for her time filling in on helping the county court as well. And just let us know anything we can fill you in on or stop doing if we're being too annoying, i.e. myself. Okay.
No comments there. She'll edit your minutes for you is what she's getting at.
If there's no other discussion, I would move to adjourn.
Two, or is that a separate work session? How do we?
That's a separate work
It's a
session.
separate work
It's a work
Okay.
session. So
Excellent.
as per with the work session rules, we can discuss, but decisions have to be made in court. So 2:00 work session.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you much, everybody. And the county court will stand adjourned at 12:02 PM, just in time for lunch.
All right, awesome.